Back at it again. Won a football game. Thank goodness. Finally, it took a while, and it's one of those kind of situations where now we got to try to figure out how to keep it going. Played pretty ordinary action against Morgan last Friday evening. It's kind of hard to say that, isn't it? Last Friday evening, and we got to play better. Struggling the offensive line for a while, but now we did finally a running back who wanted to do a little something. Trey Samples rushed for about 140 yards, and I'm gonna tell you the call that we got, the 90-yarder call back, was really, a little bit iffy there. Our receiver was trying to get inside, and somehow or another he got hung up with the defensive guy. And the next thing we know, we got a flag on the play. They called it back, but we lost about a bunch of yardage in that deal, but and lost a good bit of momentum in that deal too, because with that I think it might have been a lot different football game. But I was proud of the fact that we came back. We were down at the half, got down a couple other times, had all kinds of issues, kicking game issues, got punts blocked, bad snaps, tried to snap for a field goal. It was a little bit of an unusual. We've been so solid in those areas going into that game, and those things came off the hinge for us. And we've been blocking punts, I told our guys, and losing games. This time we got punts blocked against us and won a game. So the old adage is that if you get a punt blocked, you're about 90% a loser. Didn't work out in this particular situation. Hadn't worked out for us at all this year. So we were able to hang in there, got a play, down move forward from over Dillon, made a play for us, got the ball back for us. We ended up getting a score finally, got tied up 14-all, and then from there we got a score, and then Darius Nutter made another play or two. We kind of won going away at the end, 35-14. Looks like we really beat them up really badly, didn't it? Yeah, nothing could be farther from the case, but at the same time, we were excited about the win. And, had a lot different practice yesterday. We finally got them back in practice yesterday. We're on about the Bethune-Cookman deal now. Bethune's playing about like we are. Won this past weekend before last, I guess, because everybody seems to have a week open before they play us. We just got through playing Morgan, who had a second week. We now playing Bethune, now Howard. So everybody seems to have it worked out where they get a chance to get a week open before the old Bulldogs. So we're going to try to see if we can get our little rink-a-dink outfit together and run them down there and see if we can play them guys this coming Saturday afternoon.
Confidence, though, building after a win like that, just because you can see how the game started, how you finished strong. I just got to imagine the mood here is a lot better than it was a week ago at this time when we were talking.
Yeah, miles different than what it was. Our guys were just so much more enthusiastic. And even in the practices when we didn't do well, our guys were jumping around and trying to create some excitement, that kind of stuff. But you don't have to do that when you play better, when you win a game. So I was really happy for our guys, for our young guys especially, who kind of wonder, what the heck's going on here? This team's been pretty good over the years. All of a sudden I get here, and these guys can't win a game. So, it was fun to watch us move around the last day or so. And, we're excited about maybe getting back out and practicing tomorrow morning.
Coach, you said you were looking for offensive consistency. You scored 28 points in a row. How do you bottle that and use that moving forward?
Well, let's hope that we can figure out how to get it bottled. We still got, our issues. We don't necessarily play quite. We moving pieces around in the offensive front, and I'm sure you've heard that before, where people try to fix their offensive lines, and we've got our issues that way. So we keep moving guys from tackle to guard and all that kind of stuff, and we got guys hurt. We got guys who who don't do so well. So we got our work cut out for us, and it starts up there. Our receivers are starting to play fairly well. I beat our quarterback up from time to time. But let me be honest with you, he's actually played fairly decent at times, and the biggest problem is, he's getting beaten up. And, it's hard for a guy to kind of just stand there play after play after play, when they got all kinds of trash in their face and still throw that ball. So, I've got to take my hat off to him and what he has been able to do. And then, we got to figure out how to get our offensive front going.
And Bethune, traditionally, this has always been one of those exciting matchups in the MEAC every single year. What do you most look forward to playing a rival like this? It always gives you a good game, and this one always goes either way if you just look at the history of this thing.
You're exactly right, Joe. That game is one that you kind of look at on your schedule as, what the record's going to be, who's got what kind of little deal going on. Bethune's always almost a rival game for us. I think between Bethune and A&T, it's kind of a toss-up in our mind, which one's the most important. And, those guys are always in the mix. They really put a lot into it. I think it's our toughest situation when we start talking about, process. It's a 4 o'clock game. It's always hot as all get out. It's October, November, whatever the date is, and it'll be 90 degrees down at 4 o'clock, and they always play in the daytime. You don't want to play at night because you get mosquitoes out at night in Florida. So it's one of those kind of situations where I don't know what the best time is to do this deal, and they've always got a little bit of advantage. So we got our work cut out for us, and Brim, that quarterback, looks like he's healthy this year. If he throws it around the way he can, then our defenses will really have to play because they'll test us in every kind of way. And then defensively, they always seem to do a nice job of defending us. So we got our work cut out for us.
Coach, you kind of talked about with the freshmen being able to get that win. It's like, hey, you came here, it's a program that's used to winning. How important was that Friday night window in the sense of just the confidence? Because at that point of the season, midway point, if you lose, sometimes you tend to lose guys in the team,
right.
And it's like, hey, what's the coach doing, this and that?
I couldn't fathom thinking what it would have been like around here this week if we had lost that game. And, there for a while, it was not pretty. And, that scared me as much as anything. Everything's going through your mind. You're so busy really trying to figure out what I need to do next. And we were turned every kind of way. What really made it a tough game for us was Morgan came in here in a totally different defensive concept than what we've seen in the past. They were an all-50 team, and we had practiced all week for all 4 hands kind of stuff. And, for them to come in and change that much, was a pretty tough deal. And then you do that kind of deal, to an offensive line that's kind of struggling anyway. You just got so many moving parts in so many different directions. It was almost more than we could overcome. So we had 17 lost yardage plays in that game. I mean, I don't know how you survived that along with all other kicking errors we had. So, we were fortunate enough that we were able to win the game. So, at the same time, to get beaten by a team that hadn't won a game, in a situation where you kind of looking, to try to find any kind of little bit of confidence you can, would have been devastating. So, we're excited by the fact that we were able to overcome it. It was really big that we were able to overcome it in the second half. I think that showed more probably than anything as far as what our situation is about. So I feel confident now that our guys can continue to improve, which is what we're trying to do at that point, and we'll see where we head to from here once we get to these guys coming up.
Can you elaborate on that though? You just said what you saw in the second half. The guys able to overcome, you're glad to see that. Like, what did you learn about your team? I mean, a lot of us were watching the game as we're working on Football Friday, and we're sitting there, we're like, oh my goodness, no chance of coming back, and then y'all roll. So what did you learn about this team in those moments when they battled back?
I learned that we were tough enough, that we had enough intestinal fortitude to kind of keep our wits about us and actually continue to play hard. It was one of those kind of deals where, we were just looking for any sign or something positive any kind of way we could. And, there for a while, it was the scramble drill of sorts. We had, punts being blocked, lost yardage plays. Then we get into halftime, and even though we didn't start very well at the beginning of the second half, it gave us a chance to at least settle out and talk about what the fronts were and what kind of looks they were giving us and what we had to do as adjustments, that kind of stuff. So, I was proud of the fact that we were able to make those adjustments and get to the point where we knew, sort of what we had to do.
You mentioned Morgan coming in and changing the defense up, other teams scheduling a bye week before they play y'all. Has that become a norm now where teams just try to get every little advantage they can to beat South Carolina State?
And I don't know if it's just us, but it just seems to be that way this year where we seem to get teams, coming off a bye week and, they sort of kind of feed off of the, let's see if we can figure a way to, confuse that young offensive line of theirs of sorts. But now, I really think now that we've kind of seen the gamut of it all, that we'll be better off because of it. And, I don't know what they can do differently than what we've seen over time now. We've seen all of the 3-front stuff. We've seen all the 4-front stuff. We've seen all the blitz stuff. We've seen pretty much the whole, gamut that way. So I think we'll be okay, except for the fact that, that our offensive line is still struggling. We got to figure out, if we can really get the right piece in the right place and actually get them, coordinated and playing together.
Coach, how are you seeing your players respond, to the success? I mean, you got a stretch where you can kind of take advantage of some things and maybe get on the roll. How are guys, I guess, maybe even, more in tune in practice and in the film room. Now they got, the confidence of a win and maybe could spring them on a run.
You know what, Joe? It really hadn't been that much different in the way that they reacted. Even when we were having some real tough times, this offense was, buzzing all the time with guys all over the place, watching tape and trying to get, a little bit of information on, from coaches on different kinds of things. And we run like study hall, all that kind of stuff in this building too. So everybody's here all the time. So, I kind of sense that, that we were quietly confident in the fact that we'd eventually get it going. It was just, we just need to kind of continue to do what we were doing, kind of continue to work hard, that kind of stuff. If we do what we do, this team has actually got some, I look around at some of the bodies and some of the, personalities, that kind of stuff that we have. We got a chance to be pretty good down the road a piece. It's just that we just got to keep our head up a little bit, not necessarily get in the dumps and not get discouraged by some of the instances, some of the situations that we've fallen into. We hadn't had very good fortune. We kind of not made a play or two when we probably need to make a play. What happened to us Saturday was we made a couple of those plays. We didn't play that well on defense. We thought we played pretty good, but we made plays. We didn't play that good on offense, but we made plays. So it was a situation where we actually were able to overcome ourselves by simply making the plays when we had to make the plays.
You talked about the offensive line just kind of being young, and can you really, you've been on the game a long time. Is it easy or is it more difficult to try to mask these problems? Like, can you do that at the midway point? Can you kind of cover up and do things schematically to try to make up for some of the weak spots that you think you have in the trenches right now?
Well, I think that's the $64,000 question for sure. What you're trying to get done is you're trying to find ways to help them. You want to make sure that you put them in the best case scenarios as to what they can do. You want to stay away from those things that they struggle to get done. We don't necessarily have a fullback that can go out and knock a guy out in the defensive front of it. So we wouldn't necessarily be a big ISO team or that kind of stuff. But those things that we can do, that we can lean on, those things that we can maybe work, in a way that scheme-wise will be more conducive to them having success, is what we're trying to find, what we're always trying to work toward. So that's kind of the big mission. To do those things that you can do and to kind of stay with those things that by now you kind of figured out that you can.
Coach, go ahead.
I'm sorry. At what point in the night do you realize Trey has it, and what do you think as a coach when you
Well,
see it?
I kind of knew it going into the week, and in our staff meetings this past week, I kept telling him, I said, put the ball in this guy's hand, put the ball in this guy's hand.